All right, welcome back everyone. I know you're used to seeing Doug's face here, but we're doing something a little different today. I'm joined by my friend Ben, and we're going to be talking about a little something new today. Not something that necessarily Giant Goat has been doing, but something that Ben has been doing in his personal life. I know Ben, you are a musician outside of work. So can you just give us a little bit of a background there and tell us kind of what you've been doing and when outside of the office?
First of all, thank you for having me on here, and I'm glad that you called me your friend and not just your coworker, because we have known each other for quite a while. And one of the things I think that you and I have both bonded on for a long time is that we both like to write. I never was really into music growing up. I was the kid in music class who barely put his instrument together and would kind of just chew on the reed for his saxophone for 30 minutes. But I did like writing, and I love music, especially hip hop as a consumer. And as I got older, probably when I was like 18, I just, started practicing writing in that genre, and eventually I, kind of started showing people, and they gave me the confidence to start recording it. It was actually at my first kind of 9-to-5 desk job. I called it my quarter youth crisis, where I realized that I wanted a little bit more out of my career than just following tasks, and I wanted something more creative, and I was able to find that outside the office. And so for a couple of years, I kind of put my foot down and taught myself how to make music, and made some friends who were into sound engineering, and we built a studio together. And I was really fortunate to have those connections to help me off the ground and into recording, and got some of my songs on Spotify and Apple Music.
So I think what we want to get into specifically in this episode is you released a song called Changing Shapes. And that, if you look on Ben's Spotify, that is by far your most popular song. It has almost 100,000 views, I think, at this point. And I understand that you kind of took a different approach in marketing that song as opposed to your other songs, and you did some you experimented with some new strategies. You took a new approach to it. So can you just kind of give us some context there into what kind of marketing strategies you employed for that song to make it as successful as it was?
That's a good question. I think before getting into exactly what we did, I wanted to talk a little bit about why we did it. I think putting out music is inherently one of the more self-aggrandizing things that someone can do, because in any sort of entertainment play, the currency is attention, and so you're asking for people to pay attention to you. And that was something that I never really felt comfortable with, or at least I didn't feel comfortable with when I started putting out music. I would rarely pre-promote my songs. I had been known to write a song or record a song and release it within the same day with no promotion, just because I wanted to get it out. I didn't want to build that anticipation and the feeling of eyes on me where it was kind of uncomfortable. But for Changing Shapes, because it was part of an EP, and I had already put out some songs before, I really wanted to put more effort into the pre-promotion and the promotion right when the song released. So the first thing that we did was I connected with two of my friends who are into videography, Connor and Liam Diath, and we started to record these little teaser clips for all the songs on the EP, using drone footage to get these really satisfying clips of me in a field, and recording like about a 3-minute video that had little clips of each of the songs, and they were really well shot. So the first thing that we did differently was that all of our pre-promotion content had a high production value. Context is important, content is also important, but quality is, I would say, if we say that content is queen, context is king, I would say that quality would be the prince or the princess of that, because all those go together to make your best content. And so that was the first thing that we did, was the supporting content was really high quality and shot on a really high quality camera. The second thing I did was utilize Instagram ads. Instagram is really good for artists because of the targeting that you can do. You can go as granular as targeting people who have interests in certain artists. And so I allotted some budget for that. I put about $1,000 into putting out a digital ad campaign on Instagram for it. And what was really important to me about that ad campaign was I didn't want it to seem like I was shoving something down people's throats. As I go back to saying releasing music is felt self-aggrandizing, I really wanted to be kind of self-aware in my marketing, and I went so far as to include in the copy, like, hey, I know that seeing a promoted post kind of sucks, but I'm really proud of what we did, and it would mean a lot if you took the time to listen to it. So I think the two main things were that or I guess I would be three, is I did pre-promotion activities. Those activities were high quality, and I put a really human spin on the content that we put out for them. And I think that just built kind of more of a following for the song. It made people excited, and it kind of made people want to be more on my team instead of me forcing it on them. Because if you think of artists nowadays, the reason why their songs do well on the first day is because people are excited for it. Like, your fan base is your team, they're on your team. And when you're an up and coming artist, and a lot of independent amateur artists will understand, you're going against that grain. You're fighting for the attention, you don't have it already. And usually, if you're authentic and that sort of thing, people have more of a tendency to be on your side.
Yeah, I like how you talk about promoting not just a song, but yourself as a person, because I think people have it's easier to relate to someone than it is to relate to something. So if you give them, a character or a personality to associate with what you're not pushing on them, obviously, but what you're advertising, then it's a lot easier to identify with what you're looking at. I guess kind of the final thing I wanted to touch on here, and what I wanted to know from you is, what did you learn from that process? Like, was there anything that you encountered when you were doing this that was challenging? Was there anything that you did that didn't work, or anything that you did that worked better than you thought it would? Just what did you gain from this that would maybe help you in a future project, or help you with something at Giant Goat to just better prepare you for marketing?
That is a really good question. And this is actually kind of a story that I've talked about in some of the interviews I've had in the past, because I think it does tie into like a really real world workplace scenario, especially in digital marketing. And I think one of the main things that I learned from this process is that, a lot of the times, no matter how good your content is or how good your product is, when you're working on social media and that sort of thing, you're really at the mercy of the algorithms. The main reason why this song did well was because it got picked up in the Spotify algorithmic playlists, mainly the release radar. I woke up one morning and being used to, maybe 30 or 40 monthly listeners, and I had woke up to 3,000 within a week, which was something that I had never seen before, and it was all thanks to those algorithmic playlists. The same goes when you're running digital ads, especially on Instagram. The reason why they want you to have an ad running for X amount of days is because it takes time to build that audience. And even though you can pay to be in front of X amount of eyes, if the content is actually good and people are engaging with it, it just means that the algorithm's going to put it in front of more and more eyes. So at the end of the day, you have to understand that having content do really well, part of it is luck. Because you can't really game the algorithm unless you're putting, gross amounts of money on it, and they're able to benefit you in that way. And the other thing that I learned was that marketing can only get you so far. At the end of the day, if your product isn't satisfying a need in the market, marketing is just going to polish something that isn't, the highest quality anyway, and it's going to fall flat. You need to have quality marketing supporting a quality product, and that's what's going to resonate most with the market. So I would say those are the two things that I learned most from this process.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. I think that sheds some insight on real world applications of what we try and do here at Giant Goat, and how we try and be creative and think differently about how we're advertising for our clients. So thank you everyone for tuning in and checking out this episode. Thank you, Ben, for everything, and we'll catch you at the next episode.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Vince Ritchie, who is the featured artist on this song and sang the hook. When I talk about the quality of the product being the thing that accentuates the marketing, he added a lot to this song and deserves a lot of credit for the success as well.
Feel like he free but need more weekends. That's how she get to me. She knows my code like a recipe, and she knows hope for destiny. I'll make you a promise now. If we're old, can't calm it down. Stay close when I'm not around, and I'll shine light through the darkest cloud. When I see changing shapes, maybe I fear I'll stay in